Hi everyone, welcome to another Nature Walks video. Today you are in for a treat. I've got a bit of a weird video to do today. I am live at a murder scene. That's where I am. Something has happened in this sort of scenery around me that I want to show you, and hopefully we're going to solve the mystery together. So just to give you the background, I've just been walking through this woodland trail. So I'm just up in the woodlands, and I was just walking along through this path when, I don't know if you can see yourselves, but there are a load of feathers just on the ground. I'll come in a bit closer and you can see those. See all the feathers on the ground? And interestingly, just at the top of this stump where sort of trees fallen over, I don't know if you can see, but there is a load of fresh blood. I mean, it's so fresh it's even wet, it's still moist. And the flies that you can now see, there's a whole mix actually, a whole load of different species. They'd be quite interesting to work out what they are, but we'll focus on the video. They've only just moved in, probably in the last minute or so actually, since I've been here. So I don't know when this happened. This has probably only happened in the last sort of maybe 10, 20 minutes or so, if that's still wet. And whatever it was has been taken away. So the question is what's happened here? So what's been murdered and who was the murderer? Well, we'll start with who was the murderer because it's maybe slightly easier at this point. So there's usually two murderers to consider. Is it a bird of prey or is it a mammal? Now the mammal would likely be a fox, and the bird of prey in a woodland like this would likely be a sparrowhawk. So that's what I'm thinking. So how can we tell which one it is? Well, there's a couple of ways, but the first thing to do is to have a look at the feathers. So we're going to have a look at the feathers that are just on the floor here. So if I pick some of them up. Now, one of the easiest methods to tell the difference between the two predators and what they might have done in terms of extracting these feathers is to see whether they look like they've been plucked, so pulled out, which is what a bird of prey would do, versus whether they've been ripped or chewed out, which is what a mammal would do. So they're not so delicate, foxes. They tend to sort of get a good grasp and they rip it out as quick as they can, and what that means is that the ends of these quills tend to be ripped or chewed and shredded. So if I have a little bit of a sort of look at them, they're complete, so they look like they've been plucked out. We could do with some bigger feathers. Oh, here's a bigger feather actually just on the floor here. This is the kind of one we really want to see, because those little feathers, when they kind of get pulled out by a fox, they can also be complete, but this one would likely be chewed out because it's a much longer feather, but the quill, which is this bit at the very top, is still complete. So that sort of indicates to me this is likely to be bird of prey, and this is sort of backed up by the fact that actually what's likely been happened is that it's been plucking it from this sort of tall perch and tossing the feathers down the side here. So this kind of makes sense really for it to be sparrowhawk. Okay, so the final thing to do then is to work out who the victim was. Now we've kind of got a few feathers here and I've got a bit of a rough idea what might have been killed, but you should always check to see whether there's any more feathers around that might give you a bit more of a clue. So we're going to do that. Haven't actually walked yet and had a look around, but you should always follow the murder trail back. So we're just going to walk this path because I can see there are more feathers. Hopefully you can see those on the ground as we walk. And you can see up ahead there's a big cluster. So we'll have a look here. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, well that gives us the answer. This should be a lot easier. Okay, so this is a little clump of tail feathers. So these are the tail feathers of our victim, and actually these, to me, look like juvenile stock dove, or even maybe an adult stock dove feather actually. Yeah, I think these are stock dove feathers, which is really interesting actually. I don't think I've ever seen a stock dove kill. So yes, so these are stock dove feathers, I'm pretty confident. And it could be wood pigeon, could be a juvenile wood pigeon, but I'm pretty sure they're stock dove, and I'll show you why when we look back. But what tends to happen with birds when they are attacked is they'll drop feathers in order to try and slip the grasp of the predator. So if you imagine a bird of prey like a sparrowhawk will come up and sneak up onto their prey, and as they grasp them with their talons, the bird that they're being attacked is going to want to try and get away. And so what they can do is they can drop a big clump of their feathers. Often it's their tail because it's at the back of the bird, and they drop to the floor. And so that's what we've got here. So this is probably where the attack happened. And then what's happened is the sparrowhawk has been successful, and then it's flown over to a more convenient perch, which is back here, where it's then started to pluck all these feathers out, ready for it to maybe fly off to a nest nearby, to either feed its young, which is likely what's happening at the moment, or maybe even just to feed itself. And the other reason I thought it was stock dove earlier is, I don't know if you can see, but can you see that there's a bit of green iridescent on this little feather? I don't know if you can see that very well. There's a pretty good angle there, little green. So that's quite typical of stock dove. There's a very green one there. Nice green one there, which is classic from stock dove. They have that little green patch on their neck, which is probably what that feather's from. So there you go. So hopefully that solves our mystery. So we think it's a sparrowhawk, and we think it's taken a stock dove, or potentially it's a wood pigeon, but I'm pretty confident it's a stock dove. So so there you go. So if you ever come across one of these, yeah, have a look, see whether you've got quills that are complete, and if they are and have been plucked out, it's sparrowhawk, and if they've been ripped out or chewed, then it's likely fox. So have a go and see if you can find anything like this yourself. All right, enjoy.